Hello everyone, welcome back to Movie Recapped Girl. Get ready for a poignant and unforgettable drama about the devastating power of beauty and judgment in Milena. Renato, a 13-year-old kid from Castelcudo, Italy, remembers the day Mussolini was on TV, announcing that Italy was going to war with France and Britain. The same day, Renato gets his very first bike. When Mussolini's speech starts blaring out around the city, Renato can't wait to rush back and tell his buddies. When he shows up, they're all complimenting his new bike, and then just chill on the curb, totally mesmerized as Milena struts down the street. Milena is their bike's child, and they're doing their best to keep an eye on her. Renato can't help but stare at her beauty every chance he gets. Next, the gang's off to their Latin class. Renato spends the day just chillin', still totally blown away by how gorgeous Milena is. The following day, the bunch of buddies are chilling by a cliff, chatting about Milena and checking out how macho they are. Renato's buddy brings up meeting Milena, which ticks off Renato and makes him start poking fun at his friend. Later on, Renato decides to ditch school and heads to Milena's place. There he gets lost in thoughts about her, yells at him, and asks for a smoke. But when he looks over at Milena's house and sees the door shut, his little fantasy gets cut short. His dad's mad at him back at home for ditching school, getting teased by his pals, and changing his trousers. Later that evening, Renato slips out of his room to drop by Milena's place again. He scrambles up a tree, peeks through a hole in the window, and spots Milena just chilling on the sofa. Just being nosy, he sees Milena going about her business, tunes into the radio, then stumbles upon a pic of her hubby, Nino Scordia. So the next day at the barber shop, the guys were chatting about Milena, and how she ended up in their town cause of Nino, who's off fighting in the war right now. When it's Renato's turn, he whines to the barber, questioning why he can't sit in the grown-up's chair. Obviously, the barber just tells him he's too young. After getting his hair cut, Renato heads back to Milena's place, peeps at her through a telescope, and spots her drying off near the garden. Later on, Renato sneaks up to the window to take a quick peek at her, using a sewing machine through a little gap. Renato's taken aback when he sees Milena's skirt slip down a bit, showing a bit of skin. Later, she starts dancing with a picture of Nino, while some music plays, and then she heads back to the room. The next day, Renato pops into a music shop, asking for the tune he heard at Milena's place. Once he gets back to his place, he's playing this tune while checking out photos of women. When he dozes off, he dreams that they're all Milena. The next day, Renato heads back to their usual chill spot. He's attempting to pen a letter to Milena. He says he doesn't pay attention to the town's gossip. He's the only guy she's interested in after her husband. Renato goes back to his buddies who can't wait to find Milena. Then, he makes a quick fib to ditch his buddies and go meet Milena. When he spots her, all the guys in town are eyeing her as she strolls down the street. The guys say hi to her, but she just keeps going, looking straight at the ground. A guy meets her and keeps on giving her hand smooches. The other guys are looking on, with envy. Milena takes a quick look at Lieutenant Katie by the balcony, then swiftly looks away from him. When she gets there, Renato catches her pulling out her apartment keys. Later, during Latin class, some kids make rude jokes about Milena, and Renato is totally grossed out by it. When the students head out, Renato just stares as they go down the stairs and spits at them. So, next up, Renato heads over to the bike repair guy to get his bicycle fixed. He sees Milena again from there. Renato can't do anything but stare at her, while the local women can't stand having Milena around. One woman says she's just like this town's call girl, Gina. Milena visits the apartment one more time, and Renato is still on her tail. He scales a close-by gate to check out who Milena is eyeing, and finds out it's her dad. Later that night, Renato is at home getting all touchy-feely with himself, while the same song plays again, and he can't stop thinking about Milena. So, the following day, while they're doing their morning exercise, one of Renato's buddies mentions that Nino Scordia was killed in battle. Later on, Renato goes to Nino's funeral. At the memorial service, there are two girls checking out Lieutenant Katie, chatting about how hot he is, and they're practically swooning. Once he takes off, Renato heads back to Professor Ponsoner's place, finds Melina on the bed, bawling her eyes out over her late husband. In Renato's daydream, he goes over to Melina, gives her a pep talk, and assures her that he'll stick around. Then, Melina gives him a big hug. At Nino's funeral, Melina's all dressed up like the Virgin Mary, and she looks pretty rough. Renato's down there in the crowd, watching her and looking real worried. Once the parade was over, he just happened to hear some locals bad-mouthing Melina again. This really ticked Renato off, so he decided to spit in their drinks and pee in their bags. Renato heads over to church, saying a prayer to a saint, to keep Melina safe from the town folks' trouble. Once Renato steps out of the movie house, he quickly realizes that Melina has already bounced from the shop. The guys in the store are being mean about her, and Renato accidentally hears. He gets mad, chucks a rock at the store window, breaking it, then takes off. Later, he's hanging out near Melina's place when a bunch of German soldiers stroll past. When Melina gets home, Renato sneaks into her yard, snags a pair of her underwear, then bolts back to his bike to head home. Once he's back in his room, Renato starts daydreaming about Melina again. He's got her undies with him, and he's picturing them both together. Eventually, he falls asleep. The next day, Renato's dad stumbles upon Renato snoozing with panties on his face. His dad gets mad, tells Renato he's disappointed in him, and the rest of the family also joins in. After Renato's dad chews him out, he storms off to his room. Meanwhile, his mom, who's crying and feeling embarrassed, burns the underwear. 3 days have gone by, and Renato's mom is getting pretty worried since he hasn't had a bite to eat. Then, she starts griping about how badly the fascists are behaving towards them. The following day, a doc pops in to check on Renato. He lets the family know he's got to head out. Later on, Renato bikes back to Melina's place, but this time, the streets are packed with folks and cars. When he gets there, he spots Lieutenant Katie and a few others, all looking at Melina's house. As time passes, Renato is working on a class report. Out of the blue, a guy walks in and gives a letter to Professor Bonsignor. The letter says that the professor is super embarrassed because his daughter is hooking up with everyone in town. Feeling sad, the teacher walks out of the class, and all the students can chat about is that note. Renato gets upset, picks a fight with a student, and at the same time, he sees himself as Melina's champion. When it got dark, Renato went back to Melina's place, and there he found Lieutenant Katie having a chat with her. Renato gets really mad when he sees Lieutenant Katie smooching Melina before taking off. As he's leaving, the lieutenant bumps into Dentiste de Cusimano. The dentist gives him a hard time for chasing after Melina, calling her his future wife. Cusimano hits Lieutenant Katie first. Even though Katie doesn't want to fight back at first, when he gets hit again, he decides to fight back. These two are duking it out, and soon enough, it's Dare's turn. The wife of Cusimano shows up, and she's got the cops with her. She's mad, and calls her husband a cheater. While the cops are trying to break up the fight, she storms over to Melina's place, gives her a piece of her mind, and tells her to stop swiping husbands from their town. Meanwhile, Renato can't believe his eyes as he watches the cops start to cuff these two numbskulls. The next day, everyone in town can't stop talking about what happened last night, trying to figure out who messed up. People are surprised to hear that Melina's got 2 partners, and they're talking about how the professor had to quit his job in disgrace. They also say that Melina should be taken to court for messing around with guys who are already married. Renato accidentally catches wind of this news while walking by, so he starts searching for Melina once more. When Melina gets back to her dad's place, she tries to unlock the door, but the key won't work. Renato sees from the sidelines, getting that the professor just ditched his daughter. He just looks at Melina, looking pretty stressed out. Next up, Melina heads to Attorney Santorbi's office, looks for the lawyer, and then steps into the courtroom. Renato sees Melina up on trial in a packed courthouse. The judge keeps grilling Melina about the dentist and what's going on between them. Melina lets the judge know that Dara Cusimeno only dropped by one time to bring her dad some medicine and lied about being her boyfriend. When the judge brings up Lieutenant Katie, Melina says their relationship isn't tied to any legal stuff. So, the judge tells Melina that because of what happened, they had to grill Lieutenant Katie in a legal investigation before they shipped him off to Albania. After they chat, he has his assistant share what Lieutenant Katie said. Melina feels bummed out when the clerk announces to everyone that Lieutenant Katie thinks their connection is a chilled one, saying they're just buddies. Then, Lawyer Santorbi starts to talk really passionately, standing up for Melina and pointing fingers at Dear. Cusimeno believes that Melina's only flaw is her good looks, and that she's just trying to kick off a fresh start after her hubby passed away. After court wraps up, Melina and Lawyer Santorbi head back to her place and start dancing, while Renato peeks in from outside the window. Melina and Santorbi have a little talk, and then Santorbi puts the moves on her, saying that he only wants Melina as his payment. Renato is freaking out as Santorbi is making moves on Melina, trying to get her to fall for him. Renato hops to a different tree branch for a clearer look, but the branch snaps and he tumbles down. So, the next day, Renato goes back to the saint, lets him know he's cool with what Melina did last night. Then, he tells the saint he failed to keep Melina safe, so he snaps the saint's arm to square things up. In school, Renato can't stop thinking about Melina. He pens a love note to her, saying she deserves better than a guy like Santorbi. Renato starts daydreaming that his teacher is Melina, but gets snapped back to reality when his teacher tells him off for messing up the task. Renato sprints out of the class, gives a statue a shove, and it ends up falling and smashing. So, Renato and his family head over to the tailor shop. Renato is busy finding pants that fit him, and his dad is tuning into the radio, hearing news about non-stop bombings by the Allies. After stepping out of the tailor shop, Renato bumps into Santorbi, who's in town to see his mom. Renato just stands there as his mom hits him, yelling and laughing at him, clearly not cool with Melina. Then, Renato tracks down Santorbi and catches him with a teary and upset Melina, where they decide to break up. This takes a load off Renato, and then he heads to the barber shop. So, after this, Renato keeps an eye on Melina, who's getting bothered by some guys on the street. She slips through a tiny back street to dodge the crowds, and out of the blue, she starts moving slower. When Renato spots this, he figures Melina is heading his way, so he starts to slow his pace too. Melina just walks by him, which is a bummer. He signals that friendly planes are coming. This makes Renato bolt to his bike and take off as the Allies start to bomb the town. After the explosion, Renato sprints to a wrecked building, where soldiers are pulling out Professor Bonsignor's body. Not long after, Melina and her dad's students show up at his funeral. As he's being laid to rest, a bunch of guys line up to say their goodbyes to Melina. Renato tries to get in line too, but an old guy cuts him off. He bails when he sees a bunch of guys gossiping with Melina. After the service, Melina gets back home and starts doing haircuts and washing up, with Renato just standing by the door, unsure of what to do. A car shows up out of nowhere at Melina's place, so Renato has to duck out of sight. Antonio's buddy Salvatore steps out of the car and gives Melina's door a knock. After saying hi, she lets him in. Renato, crying his eyes out, peeks through a window crack to see Salvatore pushing himself onto Melina right away. While Salvatore's having fun, Melina's just lying there giving the ceiling the mean mug, which really ticks off Renato, and he storms off home. The following day, more Germans take over the town. Renato is just strolling down the street when he spots Melina. He's shocked to see Melina now rocking red hair and skimpy outfits. As she heads over to a table, the guys around her are all taken aback, and the ladies are giving her dirty looks. Melina whips out a cig, and the guys around her toss her a lighter. Renato watches with a disappointed look on his face. The next day, Renato overhears the guys at the barber shop checking out Melina, who's just dyed her hair blonde. She's hanging out with Gina, and they're both working for the Germans at that place. So, Renato ends up picturing all the awful stuff Melina and Gina do to the Germans in the hotel, then he finally blacks out. Renato's folks scoop him up from the barber shop, then cart him off to church. His mom reckons he's got a devil in him, so they do an exorcism. Then, they bring him to a beach house for some kind of ritual. Outside, Renato's dad is crying and brushing it off, believing that all Renato needs to do to stop being so silly is to sleep with a woman. Once the ceremony wraps up, Renato's dad brings him to a brothel. There, Renato picks out a brunette escort and spends some time with her. Then, they head to a room and begin with a cup. Later on, the Allies roll into town and kick the Germans out of Castel Quito. Renato is having a blast, cruising around in an American Jeep. All of a sudden, a bunch of ladies storm into a building and yank Molina out. These ladies start attacking her on the street, ripping off her clothes and embarrassing her in front of everyone. Renato is scared stiff and just stands there while the women chalk off her hair, hurl insults at her for sleeping with her man. Once they're finished, Molina is left by herself, beaten up and sobbing from the pain and embarrassment, as the women then run her out of town. Soon after, Renato bikes over to the train station and catches Molina hopping on the train. Renato can't bring himself to talk to the girl he's really into, and he can only stare as she walks away. Chilling on a cliff with his buddies, Renato feels pretty down. He looks at the record of the song he first heard at Molina's place, then chucks it into the sea. Back in the city, a dude gets dropped off by a car. As he strolls down the road, folks spot him and let out that he's Nino Scordia, the guy married to Molina, who everyone thought was dead. Renato tags along with Nino to his old place, only to find it filled with refugees and no sign of his wife. Renato keeps tailing Nino as he walks into an American office. He spills his guts while Renato listens in. Nino begs the Americans to help him track down his wife. Renato is still on his tail. Nino goes up to some ex-government guys and asks if they have any idea where Molina is. The guys in charge just chuckle, which ticks off Nino. He steps up to them, but one knocks him flat and takes off. Renato helps a bummed-out Nino get up. Then, Nino heads back to his place. Nino is just sitting by the bed deep in thought, when out of the blue, Renato tosses a letter his way. Nino tries to go after the kid, but he ends up checking out the letter. He realizes that Molina has always been true to him, and she's headed to Messina. So Nino finds this out and hops on a train to Messina, while Renato just stands there watching. As days go by, the town gets back to business as usual. While Renato is chilling with a girl, everyone's attention shifts to Nino, who's back with his wife Molina, and they're heading back to Castel Quito. The townsfolk can't help but stare at this couple, tuning out everyone else as they head back home. Later at the market, Molina strolls around with a bunch of people gawking at her as she bounces from shop to shop. Everyone's chattering about it. Two women are checking her out, and Molina swings around to say hi. They greet her warmly, and just like that, everyone in the market goes back to their usual routine, carrying on with their day-to-day stuff. After Molina wraps up his shopping, Renato swings by on his bike, keeping an eye on his longtime interest as he heads home. While she's heading home, a few oranges tumble out of her bag. As Renato is stuffing the oranges back into the bag, his hand brushes against hers. At last, he chats with her and tells her good luck. With that, Molina just nods and takes off. Renato watches her walk away, and he realizes that even though he's been with plenty of other women, Molina is the only one he'll never forget. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more incredible stories like this one, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. I'll be back with another video soon.